Hi guys! Mabuhay! It's me, your girl InDaynaMo, and welcome back to my Taglish channel! Hello guys! How are you all on other side of the universe? So guys, for today's video, another interesting site. Dito pa rin tayo sa Pearl Harbor, dito sa Hawaii, US of A. So guys, are you ready for some interesting, impressive, historic site dito sa Pearl Harbor? What are we waiting for? Happy watching!
It's like we're going to a show all over again. Good times.
Battleship Missouri Memorial, the site where Japan formally surrendered, ending the war in 1945. USS Missouri was the last U.S. battleship ever built and the last active battleship in the world. World War II ended on her deck on September 2, 1945, with a formal ceremony and the signing of the Instrument of Surrender. You can visit the historic site of the surrender ceremony and tour the ship. Adult ages 13, $39.99. Child ages 4 to 12, $19.99. Allow about 1.5 to 2 hours. Open daily, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Closed New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Access only by shuttle from the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center. Ford Island is an active military base. Time needed 1.5 to 2 hours for a self-guided visit, longer if you explore every deck. All upgrade experiences are an additional fee in addition to general admission. This is a physically strenuous tour and is not recommended for those with mobility constraints. You must be able to climb several sets of ladders and navigate through tight doorways and low overheads. Closed-toe shoes are recommended. Children must be 10 years old to participate in this tour. Bring sunscreen and water, much of the deck is outdoors. Bags are not allowed, use lockers at the visitor center. Combine your visit with the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum, they're both on Ford Island and use the same shuttle route. Commissioned, June 11, 1944. Decommissioned, March 31, 1992. Length, 887 feet, 270 meters, longer than 3 football fields. Weight, 58,000 tons. Crew, about 1,500 sailors during World War II. Now preserved as a museum ship and operated by the non-profit USS Missouri Memorial Association.
Yep, go ahead and make your way here. Free guided tour, stick to the benches.
think it's also a ship they use for shows, turn back time.
The tour guide will share the fascinating stories and history of the mighty Enmo. They bring history to life as you walk in General Douglas MacArthur's footsteps and stand on the surrender deck where World War II ended. Tour guides are available in English, Japanese, Chinese, and Korean, depending on daily availability.
All right, folks, if you could kind of form sort of a semicircle around me, I would appreciate that. Come as close as you feel comfortable. Form sort of a semicircle around me. Semicircle. Semicircle.
Not in the center.
We did a full circle. Some of you would wind up in the drink, and we don't want to do that. All right, folks, you may take any photographs you like on board the Battleship Missouri. Now, the Battleship Missouri has a very distinguished history. The ship began to be built on January 6th of 1941 in the New York Naval Shipyard in Brooklyn, New York. Now, that date is significant because, see, that's exactly 1 day and 11 months before the attack takes place here in Pearl Harbor. So this ship was not here when the attack takes place in Pearl Harbor. It's still being built. This ship would be launched on January 29th of 1944 and would be christened by a young lady by the name of Mary Margaret Truman. And she is the daughter of then junior senator from Missouri, Harry S. Truman, who of course will later become vice president and president of the United States. This was always his favorite ship. Now, this ship would be part of a class of battleships called the Iowa-class fast attack battleships. There were 4 of them built: USS Iowa, USS New Jersey, USS Wisconsin, and finally the USS Missouri. This would be the last of the Iowa-class battleships ever built. In fact, this will be the last battleship ever built by the United States. This ship would be commissioned on June 11th of 1944. And after an initial shakedown cruise, will be sent out to the Pacific to battle the Japanese Empire during World War II. She will see duty in the Allied invasions of the island of Iwo Jima, the island of Okinawa. Will do shore bombardment of the main islands of Japan, but of course what she's most famous for is on September 2nd, 1945. She would be the site of the surrender of the Japanese Empire that would end World War II. Just a few minutes, we will actually go to where that took place. Well, after World War II, this ship will keep operating, but its 3 sister ships of the Iowa class, they're going to be decommissioned, put into mothballs and storage in Bremerton, Washington. But not this one. This one will keep operating for one reason. Who's president of the United States at the time? Harry Truman. And old Harry said, "As long as I'm president, this ship will keep operating." By the way, that was an exact imitation of Harry S. Truman. And because of that, the ship got to see duty in the next major conflict in the world, the Korean War. Saw 2 tours. But not long afterwards, in February of 1955, she too would be retired, decommissioned, put into mothballs and storage in Bremerton, Washington, where she'll stay 29 years, till 1984, when then another president by the name of Ronald Reagan decides that he needs a 600-ship Navy to combat what he called that evil empire, the Soviet Union. And he and his Secretary of the Navy, John Lehman, will bring all 4 of those Iowa-class battleships back into duty. But they're going to modernize them. They're going to put air conditioning on them, thank heavens. And they're going to put missiles on board, cruise Tomahawk missiles, Harpoon missiles, and a weapon you see up a quarter of the way up our mast there, all the way on the right. Looks like a big white garbage can, or R2-D2 from Star Wars, with a barrel sticking out. That's the Sea Whiz, close-in weapon support system. That's the Phoenix Gatling gun that shoots 3,000 rounds per minute. Well, the ship would be recommissioned on May 10th of 1986. She's going to see duty in Operation Earnest Will, Operation Desert Shield. And finally, on January 17th of 1991, she will fire the first of 28 cruise Tomahawk missiles at Baghdad during Operation Desert Storm. Well, that will be the last combat she'll ever say. But she had one last duty to perform. She'll sail into this harbor on December 7th, 1991 for the 50th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor called Operation Remembrance. She would be the flagship for that event. Well, finally on March 31st of 1992, the Battleship Missouri will be decommissioned for the last time. And when the last sailor crosses the gangway on that day, he will in fact be the last battleship sailor in the world. What would be the fate of the Battleship Missouri? Well, there was the threat she would be scrapped, but an organization will step in and rescue her called the USS Missouri Memorial Association, based here in Honolulu. Going to bring the ship here in 1998. We're going to open our doors to all of you on January 29th of 1999. Since that date, we've had nearly 10 million visitors. Now you're going to notice that our guns are elevated at a 45-degree angle, pointed towards the Arizona Memorial and the actual Arizona that's now beneath the waves. Almost as if this ship is on guard of those over 900 sailors and Marines who are still entombed on board the USS Arizona. Note, on that ship, the USS Arizona, on December 7th, 1941, World War II will begin for the United States. On board this ship, September 2nd, 1945, World War II will end for the United States. So you got the beginning and you got the end. Within 300 yards of one another, we call this the bookends of World War II. Now, this ship is huge. She's 887 feet 3 inches long. I know because I measured her this morning. No, I didn't really do that, but that's almost 3 American football fields in length. At her widest point, a beam, she's 108 feet 2 inches wide. Now that was done on purpose because, see, she was designed to transit from the Atlantic to the Pacific, Pacific to the Atlantic, through the Panama Canal. And in her day, the locks of the Panama Canal were just 110 feet wide. So what did that mean? 11 inches on each side of this ship when she went through the locks of the Panama Canal. Kind of a tight fit. She would often scrape the sides of the locks. The sailors said it was an awful sound. Sounded like 10,000 fingernails scraping on a gigantic chalkboard. They had almost had to repaint the ship every time they went through the locks of the Panama Canal. Well, from the keel, that's the bottom of the ship, and yes, folks, we are floating here. From the keel all the way to the top of the mast, she's 216 feet 6 inches. That's almost the height of a 20-story building. When this ship was fully loaded, she weighed 58,000 tons. She could go 33 knots. That's about 38 to 40 miles an hour. Can you imagine this thing going 38 to 40 miles an hour? Well, the thing that intrigues people probably the most are these monstrous guns. Yeah. These are 16-inch, 50 caliber rifled guns. These are the largest guns ever placed on a U.S. naval vessel. There are 9 of them on board. They're grouped together in 3 into these boxy-looking things called turrets. Right in front of you is turret 1. Immediately behind it, 3 more of those monstrous guns. That's turret number 2, and then all the way in the back of the ship is turret number 3. 9 of these monster guns. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Each one of these guns is about 66 feet long, about the length of a good-sized school bus. Each one of the barrels weighs 239,000 pounds, about the weight of one of our old U.S. space shuttles. Now, each one of these barrels could be individually targeted or they could be targeted together. They had a muzzle velocity of 2,500 feet per second. They could send a shell 23 nautical miles or 25 statutory miles in about 91 seconds. They could be loaded and refired every 30 to 40 seconds. Now, what you're seeing right here is just the top of the turret. This is called the gun house. There's 25 men in there. They load the guns from in there, but below the gun house is a core that goes down about 4 or 5 decks or floors. In there are about 70 men. And what do? Well, they operate the hydraulics and electrical and raise and lower the barrels, turn the turrets left and right. They also send up the shells and the gunpowder. Right in front of you, you see that green bullet-shaped thing sitting in a cart there. That's one of the shells fired by these guns. That's an armor-piercing shell that weighs 2,700 pounds, about the weight of a Volkswagen Beetle. That shell could penetrate 17 inches of armor, 28 feet of reinforced concrete. We fired another type of shell called the high-capacity shell. We don't have one up here on the deck. We do down here on the pier. They weigh 1,900 pounds, have about 150 pounds of gunpowder in it. When they land, they create a crater about 30 feet in diameter, 20 feet deep. Now, next to the shell, you see that canister that we've opened up. In the bottom of it, you see a white bag, looks like a big white marshmallow. That's a simulated gunpowder bag that would have weighed 110 pounds. We'd store 3 bags in those canisters. In order to fire the 2 types of shells I've mentioned to you, we had to put 6 bags behind those shells as a propellant. 660 pounds of gunpowder, quite a pop. Now, we would never fire these guns in the direction you presently see. If you did, start this deck on fire, the concussion would just destroy everything up here. So in order to fire these guns, we had to turn these turrets to the left and right, port and starboard. Now, put your thinking caps on for a moment. Let's suppose we turned all 3 of those turrets that direction, fired all 9 guns simultaneously. Do you think the ship would move sideways some? Yeah, most people would agree with you. I think Sir Isaac Newton would agree with you. But I'm going to tell you no, for 2 reasons. At the base of the barrels there, you see those black bloomer things. Behind those are recoil, counter-recoil cylinders that take the 4 feet of recoil. Plus, if you recall, I told you this ship weighed 58,000 tons. It didn't move 1 inch that way when those guns would fire. But by the side that we would fire the guns, 200 feet of flame would come out of each barrel. The concussion would actually create a wake in the water. Now, I must apologize. I have given you an awful lot of information to digest. They made me do it. We are now going to head to the surrender deck. If you got questions, just yell it out. But in the meantime, watch the steps.
On September 2, 1945, Japan officially surrendered aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, ending World War II.
All right, what you're seeing here is that 200 feet of flame coming out of the barrel. And then down here, there's
The surrender deck still features a plaque marking the exact spot where the surrender documents were signed. Replicas of the surrender documents themselves. Missouri also served in the Korean War and the Gulf War, making her one of the longest-serving battleships in U.S. history.
So that's the 3rd version of the Arleigh Burke, right? This year's ship? Yeah.
Flight 2.
What do they call it?
Flight 1, Flight 2.
Yeah, flight 2.
And there's Flight 3.
I can get you folks up against the handrail or move down here. Very good. Well, we are now on perhaps the most historical location on board the Battleship Missouri. This is the surrender deck. Here on September 2nd, 1945, the Japanese Empire will surrender to the United States and its allies, ending World War II. The photograph you see behind me shows you that scene on September 2nd, 1945. And then over here to your left and behind some of you, you see a round brass plate with a plaque in the middle with a chain around it in the deck. That's where the surrender table once stood. And on that table were placed the 2 instruments of surrender, one copy for the Japanese, an identical copy for the Allies. You see that table sitting here to the left in the photo. Folks, if I get you over to this side, I got to leave this clear right here. So, thank you very much. Well, this ceremony did not take place here in Pearl Harbor. In fact, it took place in Tokyo Bay. The Allies had decided that the surrender should take place in Tokyo Bay. And now some 257 U.S. and Allied ships have safely gone to anchor in Tokyo Bay. And of course, among those will be the Battleship Missouri. Well, it will be a warm, overcast Sunday morning, September 2nd, 1945, when at about 9 a.m. a launch is going to pull alongside the ship here on the starboard side. Off will come an an 11-member delegation of the Japanese Empire who had been personally selected by their Emperor Hirohito. They would come up onto the deck of the Missouri, circle around, and they're going to come up a set of stairs similar to the ones we just came up right here, and they're going to stand right here. And you see them all the way over to the right in the photograph. Well, it's now 9:02 a.m. Descending a set of stairs to the far left there, like that gentleman is just coming down, and the other gentleman. At the top of the stairs was a cabin that belonged to Admiral William Bull Halsey. He was the commander of the 3rd Fleet. This was his flagship. He had invited 2 other men to wait with him in that cabin for the Japanese to arrive on the deck. Those 2 other men were General Douglas MacArthur and Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. When the Japanese delegation has made it up here onto the deck, those 3 gentlemen will come down that set of stairs to your left and approach our surrender table and come next to a microphone, which you see right here to the left. And MacArthur will take the microphone and pass it to the chaplain of the ship, Chaplain Roland Falk, who will give a brief prayer for peace. And then MacArthur will take the microphone, and he will give a short speech where he'll talk about tolerance, justice, rebuilding, and sowing the seeds for peace. He was very magnanimous, and it so impressed number 27, the young man right in the middle of the delegation there with a silk top hat and a briefcase under his arm. His name is Toshikazu Kase. Mr. Kase is an aide to the Japanese foreign minister and one of the English translators, who, by the way, had received at least part of his education at Harvard University. Well, he was so amazed by MacArthur's speech because MacArthur seems to be talking about reconciliation. And here his country has just been devastated by this victor, the United States and its allies, and they are now talking about reconciliation. He couldn't believe his ears. And so he would later write a memoir in English inspired by what he had heard called Journey to Missouri. Well, then MacArthur will wait for the 2 senior Japanese delegates to come forward to the table to sign the documents, number 22 and 24. Number 22 is Foreign Minister Mamura Shigemitsu. He is the senior member of the delegation. He will be the only civilian who will sign that day. He will come forward and sign not only for the civilian government of Japan, but also the Emperor Hirohito himself, and then step back. Then number 24 will come forward. His name is General Yoshijiro Umezu. General Umezu is the chief of the Imperial General Staff. He's the most senior military and army officer of the Empire of Japan. He will come forward, sign both documents, and then step back. Then from the other side of the table, number 1 will come forward and have a seat. You might recognize him. That's General Douglas MacArthur. Folks, can I help you? Are you okay?
Yeah, we're going down.
You're okay.
Yes, thank you.
That's General Douglas MacArthur. He's the Supreme Allied Commander of all the forces in the Pacific. He will be signing not just for the United States, but all 9 allied nations who fought against the Japanese Empire. He's going to put 6 pens on the table. His intentions are to use all 6 of those pens to sign both of those 2 documents and to give all 6 of those pens away. First 2 pens he signs with, he hands to 2 gentlemen he had asked to step forward with him, number 2 and number 3. Number 2 is Lieutenant General Jonathan Skinny Wainwright. Number 3, Lieutenant General Arthur Percival. Wainwright, number 2, American officer, captured at the Battle of Corregidor in the Philippines. 3, Percival, British officer, captured at the Battle of Singapore. These 2 gentlemen had spent over 3.5 years in a Japanese prisoner of war camp together in China. They had just been released 5 days before this ceremony. MacArthur has them brought to this deck representative and symbolic of all prisoners of war. If you look at these 2 gentlemen, you're going to notice they look tall, thin, and tired. They stood nearly 6 foot 4 inches tall each. Do you know that neither one of them weighed more than 95 pounds? MacArthur hands the first 2 pens to them. The third pen would wind up being in the U.S. National Archives in Washington. The fourth pen would go to MacArthur's alma mater, West Point. The fifth pen would go to his speechwriter, MacArthur. The final pen, sixth pen, which had been a gift to him from his wife, Mrs. Jean MacArthur, he would return to her as a memento of the day. Then MacArthur will wave for the 9 Allied representatives who were also on deck that morning to come forward and sign the 2 documents. The first would be the U.S. representative. His name is Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. He's the Commander-in-Chief of all the naval forces in the Pacific. By the way, you all met Fleet Admiral Nimitz when you came on our property today. He's that 7-foot tall bronze statue. There'll be 8 other Allied representatives who will sign the 2 documents. They will be from China, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, Australia, Canada, France, the Netherlands, and New Zealand. After all 9 of those men have signed those 2 documents, MacArthur will approach the microphone one last time, closing the ceremony with these remarks, almost a prayer. Let us pray that peace be now restored to the world, and that God would preserve it always. These proceedings are closed. With that, the Japanese delegation is quietly led off the ship. This ceremony had lasted exactly 23 minutes. 23 minutes to end nearly a decade of blood, carnage, the loss of millions of lives, the greatest loss of human life in recorded history, World War II. Ladies and gentlemen, where you see this plaque sitting on the deck marks the spot where World War II will end. Historians tell us that nearly 69 million people died in World War II. Of that 69 million, 50 million were civilians, 19 million were combatants. That war is now over. But for most of the world, they did not know what took place on this deck. There was no live TV feed, didn't exist. There was no live radio feed. It would take MacArthur to seek out a special radio broadcast where he will tell millions what took place on this deck that morning using the following words. Today the guns are silent. The great tragedy is ended. The great victory has been won. The skies no longer rain death, and the seas bear only commerce. Men everywhere stand upright in the sunlight, and the world is now quietly at peace. And with those words, ladies and gentlemen, World War II will end. Well, we do have one last stop to make on our tour. Please look around, take photographs. If you got questions, let me know. People are curious about number 4 there, Vice Admiral John McCain. That's late Senator John McCain's grandfather. Glass case over there holds copies of the 2 documents signed that day. The open hatch there leads to the captain's import cabin. Listen for my call. We'll meet over here in just a few. Hurry you up too much. Certainly you come on back up here if you miss something, but I would encourage you after my tour, come back up here, go through the breezeway there between number 2 turret and superstructure, go over to the other side, turn left. There's a set of stairs looks just like this one. This is the downstairs. On the other side's the upstairs. Follow the green circles, white arrows, take you all the way up to the open navigational bridge pilot house. Some wonderful photographs up there. Yes, sir.
One question. My wife noticed this. In the picture of the signing, Nimitz is not in that picture.
I don't know. For some reason, he wasn't in the picture. But it's ironic and yet symbolic. Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz was an extremely humble man. He also did a great deal of delegation to his subordinates to win battles and to do operations. That is very symbolic of him not to be in the picture, because he doesn't want the glory, the notoriety, and that was Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz.
That was surprising.
Okay. Sir, are you up here? You're not with my group, are you? Okay. set of stairs. Please hold on to the handrails. Watch your step and follow me. From the ship. This boat was called the Captain's Gig, G-I-G, Captain's Gig. That does not mean he was a rock star. Follow me. Location on board the Battleship Missouri. This is called the kamikaze deck. Perhaps you have heard this term, kamikaze, referring to suicide Japanese pilots during World War II. Does that sound somewhat familiar? Well, this ship was in fact hit by a kamikaze plane in April of 1945 when it was stationed off the island of Okinawa for the last major battle, the battle for the island of Okinawa, using these big 16-inch guns. By the way, this is turret number 3, to support the amphibious landing on the island of Okinawa. Now this term, kamikaze, is an interesting one. It's a Japanese word that means divine or godly wind. And it's based on an historical event in Japanese history when the Mongol Empire of China, by the name of Kublai Khan, decides that he wants to invade the islands of Japan. This takes place in about 1224 AD. He sends this huge army and navy to invade the islands of Japan. Just as this invasion's about to take place, a typhoon, hurricane, comes up, completely destroys Kublai Khan's army and navy. The Japanese will forever call this miracle kamikaze, the divine godly wind. Believe it or not, this identical event takes place 7 years later with the identical results. It's quite obvious to me that Kublai Khan did not have a meteorologist on his staff. Well, it's now the latter part of World War II, nearly 600 years later. The Japanese are facing another invasion, but this time it's the United States and its allies during World War II. They're looking for another kamikaze, another divine wind, and they come upon a diabolical plan that they came up with, where they're going to ask young men between about the ages of 17 and 22 to volunteer to become human bombs. They're going to ask these young men to get into aircraft of every different description and to crash themselves and their aircraft into Allied ships. Well, they will try this for the first time in 44 at Leyte Gulf in the Philippines. They'll try it again at a battle called Iwo Jima. But it'll come to fruition off the island of Okinawa for the last major battle of World War II in April of 1945. The Japanese will send some 4,000 aircraft to try to stop this invasion of the Allies on their land. You know that hardly any of those 4,000 planes would ever see home again. Admiral Halsey would call this the most horrific and terrible threat of World War II. He will fear this weapon, kamikaze, more than any other weapon in World War II. The kamikaze will sink nearly 34 ships, kill thousands of American sailors and Marines. Fortunately, the war will draw to a close. But let us return to Okinawa again. It's now April 11th of 1945. The Battleship Missouri has been on station 10 days, and it's about 2:43 in the afternoon, and they spot an aircraft coming in this direction. They immediately recognize the aircraft is a Japanese Zero and assume that it's a kamikaze plane. The anti-aircraft guns on the Missouri begin firing on this aircraft, but they can't seem to stop him. He's coming closer and closer and closer. As he draws very close to the Missouri, they notice that the pilot is slumped over in his cockpit. So he probably had been hit by this anti-aircraft fire. Because of that, this kamikaze plane never comes up and crashes on the Missouri, but instead slams into the side of the Battleship Missouri. In a few minutes, you can take a look where the plane hit. Right over here where you see these two projections coming out of the deck with the green triangle there, number 27. Those are called mooring bits, by the way. If you lean over the side, not too far, you're going to see a bent rail between two yellow and black pieces of tape. That's where the plane hit, caused very little damage. We've never repaired the damage. It's been a badge of courage all of these years. Well, when the plane hits the side of the Battleship Missouri, falls harmlessly into the water. If he had a 500-pound bomb attached underneath, it didn't detonate. But what did happen is its right wing snaps off the aircraft, flips up onto this deck, does pirouettes all the way down this starboard side of the ship, sending aviation fuel and flames all the way down this starboard side where we were just walking. Well, it sure looks bad for the Missouri, but the crew's able to put the fire out in 3 minutes. They take a muster. No one had been seriously injured or killed on the Missouri, but they did find one fatality, one body, right over here. It's the body of the young kamikaze pilot. Somehow, he had been thrown from his cockpit over here, lands over here. Well, the crew's unsure what to do with the body until the captain of the ship of the Missouri says to them, Captain William McMurray, he says, I want you to take that body down to sick bay, and I want you to prepare it for an honorable burial at sea. So the next day, the crew would assemble, April 12th, 1945, right where you are. And then right over here, you see 7 pairs of footprints up against the lifeline. That's where 6 American sailors would have held a wooden tray. On top of the wooden tray was a canvas bag that held the body of the young kamikaze pilot. At the head of the column was the chaplain. Straight back, you see a solitary set of footprints where a bugler would have blown taps for him. And then these 6 pairs of footprints marked where a Marine Corps detachment on the Missouri would serve as an honor guard and fire 3 salvos in honor of that young kamikaze pilot. At the appropriate moment, the chaplain would say, we now send this body to the deep. Those 6 sailors would elevate the wooden tray, holding onto a makeshift Japanese flag, and the body would silently slip into the waves off the island of Okinawa. Later, we will identify this kamikaze pilot as Second Class Petty Officer Shino. He was just 19 years old. This photo tray here gives you photographs of the ceremony I just described. In the upper right-hand corner is a photograph of our kamikaze pilot, Second Class Petty Officer Shino. Next to it is a family photograph we were able to receive later. There's a little boy holding a model airplane, about 3 years old. He would grow up to be Second Class Petty Officer Shino. And then over here, another photo tray shows you an amazing photograph, showing you that kamikaze plane that we've been just talking about, the moment it hits the side of the ship. Absolutely amazing photograph. Well, on behalf of the USS Missouri Memorial Association, I want to thank you for your visit. We received no funds from federal or city government. Your tickets and donations allow us to offer tours for folks around the world and to do the restoration work you see going on the ship. So on behalf of the association, I want to say mahalo and may God bless.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. You're great.
Now before you split up,
You can go in through that door there. There's, I guess, underneath, and then there's also all the stuff on. Oh, there she is.
Below deck. Explore sailors' living quarters, engine rooms, mess halls, and command centers. See what life was like aboard a World War II battleship. Interactive displays and restored compartments make the experience vivid.
Have you seen their partners there?
Gotta do the poker.
We do the magic.
Yeah, got their own customized mugs.
The ship's bell and wheel were saved from earlier battleships named the Missouri. It was the last U.S. battleship ever built and served through Operation Desert Storm in 1991. The Missouri appeared in several films, including Battleship, 2012, and Under Siege, 1992.
bread and pies.
Steven Seagal made bread.
Just another hatch.
You're so shiny too. You get shiny, please. It smells like caviar.
Donuts.
Donuts, chocolate.
Just realised we're filming in 4K as well. You get extra high resolution.
That there's living area.
It's for Marines.
I?
For Marines.
Marines, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see you. We're in the post. Oh, this is the transfer. The TV.
That's where I do the machinery stuff.
Harem in this space and that bed.
Oh.
This is the commander. That's the name too.
How do you think they clean these clothes? Like, after you get all filled with grease, like when you just put it in the corner and just put it back on the next day.
That's Steven Seagal. Body system. No, it's a Philippine peso.
I have a card that looks just like that, but it's a Geneva Convention card.
Go that way. You just packed it. No, that's the stand. Yeah. Okay. Steady.
Got a bathroom there. Dentist. Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna go take my break.
It's a war room.
Hey guys. We're going.
Oh, it's a fancy.
Showers.
This is on the upper deck now.
Is this fire department or something? Fire officer. So eventually we do have to leave, so that's where we were earlier. So that's on that side.
Then step behind. Thank you for the service. When they close.
I think we just closed at 4. But then you have to get to the other place, the air thing over there somewhere, I think. And then you have to still get back and do the submarine. Good times. I'm bringing sexy back. Oh, there's a Topiga. Yeah, it's probably one of the recent additions. It pretty much locks onto anything it gets close and fires bullets at it really fast.
So somebody's. Is there?
Yeah.
Music over here. They modernized everything.
I know.
We have wipers over there.
We having the dole by Jax. Jax having the dole.
I'm eating the dollar. Yes! It's thirsty. Yes. Oh, that invades. Bye-bye, Missouri.
Bye-bye. Thank you for the service.
Once I have a thing again, I'm sure that's where Tina Turner done If I Could Turn Back Time.
Oh, I see the woman like that. It looks like the Maverick when he flying. Like, remember the one in the cafe?
Yes.
But Steven Stiglitz. So, that's it guys. That's our Battleship Missouri Memorial Museum. Dito tayo sa Ford Island, dito sa Pearl Harbor. Dito pa rin tayo sa Hawaii, sa US of A, dito sa Oahu, sa Honolulu. So guys, if you haven't yet checked our previous video about the USS Arizona Memorial, ito po siya. I hope you will watch it before you jump in this video, so because this is a continuation guys. So anyway, highway, and yes, after we jump up in the bus guys, dito sa Pearl Harbor National Visitor Center guys, National Site Visitor Center. And yes guys, so bus lang po ang pwede pumunta sa other side of the island, which is the Ford Island, because Ford Island is still an active military base po. So you don't need to bring your private vehicle. Your private vehicle guys is still in the visitor center only, kasi hindi nyo maipapasok yan island because they're very strict when it comes in vehicle going inside the naval area. So guys, the military base doon sa Ford Island, and yes, if you hear me earlier, it's still active po. So, anyhow, nakita niyo naman yung bus. So, it's every 15 minutes or 20 minutes, guys, nagde-depart and nag-arrive to the other side. Visitor Center, Pearl Harbor, Ford Island, and Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum, guys, and Oklahoma. So, anyhow, nakandito po tayo sa Battleship, Missouri Memorial. So, from the word itself, guys, battleship. So, makita nyo guys, it's a famous battleship. It's the most iconic, impressive, historic site dito sa Ford Island, aside from the aviation museum on upcoming video, guys. So, anyhow, nakita nyo po siya. It's a naval ship po, guys. From the beginning to the end po siya. So, when the world was started at December 7, 1941, if you heard the history, guys, of Pearl Harbor 2, may kita nyo to the end of 1945, guys, Japan surrendered this ship, guys, for the United States of America. So, meron kaming tour guide, guys. Yung ticket pala ninyo, guys, meron designated time. You hear me, right? Hindi kayo pwede pumunta doon na walang time, guys. But it's until 4 o'clock in the morning, 9 to 4 p.m. And then, yes, the other attraction also meron silang timetable. And yes, you hear me, right, guys? So, we purchase, kasi ayaw namin ma-hassle. So, we purchase the ultimate experience in Pearl Harbor, which they call it the Passport Pearl Harbor, guys. So, we have, when you purchase the ultimate experience, I recommend that because you will have a 3 designated ticket, which is the USS Arizona Memorial, the Battleship Missouri Memorial, the Aviation Pearl Harbor Museum, guys, and the hangar also, and plus you had a VR experience as well, plus the Fleet Submarine Maritime Museum na makikita nyo later on. Anyhow, nakita nyo naman yung ship. The first and foremost, guys, makikita nyo yung mga flag when we drop off to the designated area, guys. So, hindi kayo pwedeng pakalat-kalat doon. Once you drop off from the bus, guys, diretso na kayo sa may Battleship Missouri. So, if you are familiar from the movie of the Battleship, guys, ito yon yung movie, Battleship. If you've been watching that already, plus the Under Siege, which in 1992 or 1995, ito po yon yung kay Steven Seagal. Yun po yung Battleship Missouri na sinasabi ko, what I'm talking about here. And yes, you hear me right, people of the universe. Very interesting and very impressive, guys. Kasi feeling ko when I go inside, I am a naval air personnel, guys. Parang ako ang ating naval talaga. Anyhow, guys, very impressive kasi maganda yung area. Lucky, guys. It's a USS B-83 or B-86. I will tell you here na lang. Anyhow, nakita nyo, we have a tour guide in the first part of the tour. We have a tour guide, and then after that, we will be exploring the area, which is the top deck, the below deck, guys, and we did the main deck or the surrender deck, guys, where you will find the Japan surrendered the ship to the US on 1945 kasi doon na end ang war ng World War II. Anyhow, yes, guys, if you love the history of the Pearl Harbor, makikita nyo yan. Anyhow, guys, nakita nyo naman may plaque doon, may mga testimonials, mga signing papers, photos around. So, if you listen earlier sa ating tour guide, madami rin siyang sinabing knowledge artifacts about the surrender doon sa nangyari sa deck. Doon talaga mismo, guys, ha? Yes, guys, so madami kayong makikita doon, and after that, after the tour guide finished already about the history, the artifacts, so on and so forth, we are now heading to explore the area which is in the top deck and below deck, guys, and also the captain deck. So, ayun na nga, guys, yun ang isa sa mga ginamit during World War II, so the battleship. So, bihira lang talaga yung battleship na ginawa na yun, guys. So, para sa Missouri. So, makikita nyo siya, guys, and I will put the Ahmed in my description box down below and you can check it out. So, we duly highly recommend, guys. This is one top priority if you are planning to go to OAHU sa Honolulu sa Hawaii. Ito talaga Pearl Harbor, guys. So, yes, if you love, and also if you watch the You can turn back time. Yun, dito rin siya nag-film nun, yung MTV video niya. Ayun siya. Ayan and ayan. So, may kita nyo siya, guys. So, you can also play that in YouTube. So, anyhow, guys, ayun na nga ang ating Battleship Missouri for today's video. I hope you enjoy watching. You learned something today. Plus, you had fun for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting our video. And mega love shout out each wonderful, beautiful people of the universe. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please like if you did enjoy our video for today, and please subscribe if you haven't yet, and don't forget to hit the bell button for you to get notified for our next video, and please comment down below if you like this video po, and see you when I see you on my next one. Bye bye guys, be good, you take care, be safe, and mwah, ciao la.